would say the word that planted a seed of destruction in my life was the word lazy. When my dad told me that I was lazy when I was very young, I set out to prove that that was not true of me. And so it set me on this trajectory where I wanted to be the opposite.
For me, the word was slacker. Slacker was one of those words that really just, it drilled at me when I was younger, and stuck with me for quite a while.
A phrase that was actually said to me when I was little, and it left a scar, was, why are you so happy? You don't have anything to be happy about. And from that point, that kind of left me with feelings of worthlessness, not being worthy of being able to be happy or have joy, or not being able to pretty much do anything, because at that point I just felt deflated and worthless.
It turned me into a workaholic, where I had no boundaries, and my identity became about how much I was able to produce. How hard I worked, how many hours I worked, my success. My identity became completely rooted in those things.
And it just took root right then, and from that point on, it felt difficult to then be worthy of any kind of happiness, or be worthy of any kind of joy, be worthy of feeling loved, or feeling capable, or feeling wanted.
My mom was always a hard worker. My dad was a hard worker. I saw it around me. I knew what it was supposed to be, but they didn't see that in me. And so just labeling me with that word was enough to really break me down.
I stayed redlined all the time. I didn't have the kind of capacity that I needed to for my family later when I got married. I didn't have space for friendships outside of work. I didn't even have space for, an appropriate time with God. It was just, my life was crowded out by the need to work more.
It was as if walking around every single day was like trudging through tar, and it was difficult.
I was hitting a wall and didn't know what that meant, where my body just couldn't take anymore, and everything just kind of shut down.
But it wasn't until somebody had pointed me to a verse in Colossians 3, do your work heartily as for the Lord, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the reward of the inheritance. It's the Lord Christ you serve. And it was that verse that really changed everything for me.
What really changed everything was when I took a break from work and started looking at who I was, and reading there in the Gospel of Mark, when Jesus comes out of the water, when he's baptized, and the voice of God says, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased." And I started looking, and I was like, well, what in the world was he pleased with Jesus for? And it was, he hadn't done anything. I mean, at that point, he had just been baptized. And so I was like, if God can be pleased in Jesus before he's ever done anything, it's not what we do that makes God happy. It's us finding our identity in him and what the gospel has accomplished in our lives.
I went from accepting that I was a slacker to being the complete opposite of it. Everything I did in my life changed at that point, because I saw that it was God that I was serving. It was not these people that were breaking me down, my family members that were calling me a slacker. I wasn't doing the work for them, I was doing the work for the Lord.
The gospel itself shows us that we find our worth in Jesus, that he didn't come to this earth as a human to be crucified simply to defeat Satan. He found worth in us. There's worth in us because he gave it to us. And it reminds me of the parable of the lost sheep, because the sheep itself is just a lost sheep. It had value because the shepherd gave it value. And that's Jesus being our shepherd. That's how I then began to realize that, I do have worth because he gave it to me. Not somebody else trying to take it away from me, but he actually gave me worth when I submitted to him, and was just like, I can't do this on my own, because on my own, I'm really not worth that much. But through you, I am.